How's it going, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GH After Show. Before we get into GH, let's just get this out of the way because I know y'all will want me to talk about the behind-the-scenes drama going on at General Hospital. I did casually talk about it on Monday on a live stream that I did on Dion's Corner, kind of with the live chat. But let me give my concrete take on the situation, and I want to set the record straight because I feel like there's some misconceptions about what actually went down. So let's discuss. Just to summarize quickly, Ingo Rademacher, aka Jasper Jax, posted something really insensitive towards transgender people on his social media, and Cassandra James, aka Terry, spoke up about it on her social media. She didn't name names because she didn't feel like she needed to. However, Nancy Lee Grahn felt like she needed to and called Ingo out, and while she was doing so, she mentioned that Ingo was no longer on the show. Now, because of that post, a lot of people seem to believe that he was fired from GH because of that social media post, but that is 100% not the case. Let's be real, if you've seen Ingo's social media, you know that he has posted really insensitive things for years, so it would have happened a long time ago if that were the case. Ingo already shot his final scenes weeks ago, okay? In fact, his last air date is actually coming up in a little over a week. And GH shoots several weeks in advance, so put that in perspective first of all. On November 1st, ABC and Disney made it mandatory for their casts and crews of their TV shows to be vaccinated, and Ingo has always been outspoken about vaccine mandates, and so he chose to walk away from the show before the mandate went into effect. So he was not fired, he chose to leave GH. Ingo actually made a post about standing with people for medical freedom the day before all that controversy went down, so it honestly boggles my mind that people will watch these entertainment shows and read these gossip articles and then not bother to look at the source, aka Ingo himself, and see what really went down. But honestly, you can show people all the receipts in the world sometimes, and people are going to believe what they want to believe, unfortunately. You can't fix stupid. Trust me, I've tried. It's just like screaming into the void. Now, rumor has it that Steve Burton, aka Jason Morgan, might be on the way out of the show as well, possibly for the same reasons as Ingo. There's been no real concrete confirmation of that, but it does seem like a definite possibility. The closest thing to proof that we have is that on one of his recent Stone Cold and the Jackal podcasts, he mentions his comedy show with Bradford Anderson that he does, and he talking about relevant stories on GH or current stories and how they won't be relevant anymore. So it kind of hints that he might actually be done with GH, but we don't have real concrete confirmation from GH or ABC itself. My personal opinion, honestly, Ingo is not my favorite person. In fact, I really don't like him. I think he's very arrogant and egotistical, but my feelings for Ingo aside, Jax, what does he do on the show exactly? Like, he's not really much of a relevant character. He's not really doing much on the show, and anytime they give him any material, it makes Jax look like a douche. So I'm really not gonna miss the guy. I don't know about you, but that's just how I feel. As for Steve, all I ask if they do let go of Steve, or if he does walk away from the show, is that they don't have Peter be the one to kill him. Please, I cannot, guys, please, just, I do not need Peter killing off Jason Morgan, okay? And in the general sense, I feel like businesses, they have the right to choose to believe to do what's best for their cast and crew, and the actors have the right to walk away if they don't agree with the company's policies, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. It's unfortunate if you liked the actors or the characters that they play, but it's just, you know, it's the reality of the current times. Hopefully one day there won't be a need for that, but in the meantime, it just is what it is. We're all kind of dealing with it together, right? All right, enough of that. Let's get into the actual show. Peter's ego and delusions seem endless this week as he tries to convince Britt to join him on the dark side because he's so powerful. I cannot believe that this man legitimately thinks that he has any chance with Maxie and that she still loves him. Honestly, I think that's what's gonna end up being his downfall. He decides to show Jason and Britt just how powerful he can be by giving them a front row seat to how he controls Drew with those stupid tarot cards, and he gets Drew to slice his own arm. Jason, being Jason, paid close attention to the card that he used to control Drew, and he noticed that Britt was looking at the card that he used to bring Drew out of the controlling, so he's hoping to use that to his advantage. Thing is, Britt is not in the same room as Jason and Drew, so how they're gonna come up with a plan for that is anyone's guess. Meanwhile, back in Port Charles, Maxie and Brooklyn are having to work overtime because they don't want Gladys to find out that Brooklyn's baby is actually Maxie's, so they hire an actor whose name is Kip, and we've seen him before on the show, and they have him play the role of Brooklyn's real baby daddy. and it's so funny and like so cringy at the same time. But basically he acts like this really tough guy to scare Gladys away, and that convinces Gladys to actually delete the recording. So it worked for now. However, Austin has been in Valentine's ear because he knows that Gladys knows something about Brooklyn, and he says that he is aware that Brooklyn is playing him in some way, and obviously Valentine is curious to find out exactly how. Valentine takes it upon himself to question Gladys, and she keeps her mouth shut because obviously she's scared, but he is going to be keeping a watchful eye on Brooklyn from here on out. Y'all, I just realized that my vest here is inside out. I'm so tired. I'm so sorry. Let me continue the right way. I'm not re-recording any of this. Alright, now meanwhile Chase, he's still trying to figure out where Maxie's baby is. He learned that Peter doesn't seem to know where Maxie's baby is either, so he's questioning Maxie again to see if she would remember anything, but of course Brooklyn goes into major protective mode, and that is only making Chase more suspicious as to if Maxie's story is correct or not. Honestly, I think that Chase will get to the truth before Valentine, but when he does, I wonder what he'll actually do about it, because he'll know that they're doing it to protect the baby. So will he speak up and screw them over, or will he try to protect them as well? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Brooklyn had a very unexpected and unwanted blast from the past this week as well. Do you guys remember her skeezy producer Link? Yeah, he's back in town, but not for Brooklyn this time. Curtis was struggling to find a band that was willing to play at the Savoy after some mob controversy that went down, and Link practically fell from the sky and offered him a band right on his lap. And fun fact, the band in question was actually one of the directors from GH doing the singing. Now later that night, Curtis learns a little bit from Chase and Brooklyn about how shady Link can be, and so he starts to question on whether it's a coincidence or not that all these bands were turning down performing at the Savoy, and he thinks that the mob might be infiltrating it, and he's not far off, at least I don't think so. He starts to put the pieces together and confronts Link and shows him the picture of the man that Elizabeth drew for Portia, and asks him if he's the one that sent him, and lo and behold, the man shows up and has a face-to-face meeting with Curtis himself. So I'm assuming we're about to find out who exactly this man is. I'm still convinced that it's his father and that he just doesn't recognize him because he died when he was a baby, but you know, I guess we'll find out soon. I'm actually really curious as to what they're going to do with that character, because I want to believe he might actually genuinely be a good guy, because they're trying to make it seem like he might be working for the mob, but at the same time we saw him go after Joey for wanting to take over the Savoy in the first place, and now he sends this producer guy that knows musicians his way. Maybe he didn't know that Link was shady, I don't know. But, you know, if that's his father, maybe he's just trying to do his son a solid. That's my theory anyway. What do you guys think? Let's talk about Alexis for a second. She had gotten a pardon from the governor, and it actually was Nicholas that went through with the pardoning, and neither Alexis and Sam were thrilled about it because of the initial way that he tried to go about getting her a pardon. I'm actually really glad that Alexis is out of jail. I mean, in terms of on-screen jail time, she was in there the longest. I know that Sean was in jail for 6 years, but we didn't see him on screen for most of that time. They actually gave Alexis a story on screen, but just had her in that room for months. Alright, let's talk Spencer. He is not doing so great in Kelly's. He took Trina's advice to be his own man and to not go after his father's money. And when Esme finds out, she was not thrilled about that even slightly. Y'all know that this girl is gonna do something to Trina. I mean, Trina right now is preparing to do this art exhibit with insert Disney sponsor here, and she's getting ready and she's stressed out about it. Esme goes to visit her and confronts her about, you know, the advice that she gave to Spencer, and she was like, maybe don't give him advice. And Trina's like, I'm gonna be a friend and give advice to whoever I want to because that's who I am. And Esme was so pissed that she had her fist clenched and she was bleeding from her nails digging in. That girl is psychotic. Be careful, Trina. She's gonna do something at that art exhibit, I know it. Esme is also responsible for the really awkward scenes we got this week because Jocelyn and Cameron are discussing having sex for the first time, and I mean, we got some cute moments out of it, honestly. It was Elizabeth's birthday, and they threw a surprise party at the house, and Elizabeth was gonna go out with Finn after, so Cameron's trying to rush the family out the door so that they can, you know, get the ball rolling on it, and Scott catches on to this, and as he's leaving, he slips a condom into Cameron's hand with a handshake. That was slick, Scott. Props to you. Suffice to say, once Cameron and Jocelyn were alone, they were trying to, you know, get into it, but Cameron could sense that she was not really into it for the right reasons, and Joss explained that Esme was in her head a little bit and that she kind of wanted to stick it to Esme a little bit, but also, you know, she's kind of ready for it, but she doesn't want Esme to be any part of the reason, so they decide not to do it. Props to you guys. That's good for you for waiting. That would have been awkward, right? I mean, for Esme to be the reason why Cameron and Joss have sex for the first time, yikes. Here's something I thought I'd never say. I want to talk about Sunny Corinthos, mostly because of Ms. Wu. This week we got confirmation that Miss Wu is in fact related to Brad Cooper. In fact, she is his aunt. Sunny is obviously very grateful that Ms. Wu warned Jason and Carly that the other mobsters were planning to blow them up in their limo, and he feels like he owes her a favor, and so she asks if he can pull some strings to make sure that Brad gets out of jail during his next parole hearing. Obviously, Sunny doesn't feel comfortable about that because of what Brad did with Nell, and so they come up with a compromise that he just won't interfere, and he'll make sure that Michael doesn't interfere with Brad's parole hearing. Obviously, Michael has the right to speak at it, but he will make sure that he doesn't pull his strings on his own. And obviously, Michael and Carly weren't thrilled about that, but they also understood it. Sunny's newfound fairness seems to be very jarring for the people that knew Sunny before Nixon Falls. By the way, can I just say that I found it kind of hilarious that Sunny and Carly like awkwardly pushed Willow out of the family meeting over the situation. Like, you could just see the look on Willow's face that she's starting to realize that life with Michael isn't gonna be all sunshine and roses like she thought it would be. You know what I mean? Like, the look on her face, she's like, this is my life now? This is what I've chosen to be with? Like, she... I hate that I'm laughing, but like, Willow, you had Chase. You had Chase and you went with Michael. And Harmony actually ran into Willow at the Metro Court and they actually had some really nice scenes, but she did point out, you know, how weird it was that she was pushed out of the family meeting. Willow tried to make excuses, but even Harmony was like, girl. Alright, now back to Sunny. So he also this week offers Phyllis the job of managing Charlie's pub now that he's bought it. And before we get into like what happened with Charlie's and Phyllis and Nina, at some point, Sunny and Carly have a conversation about Charlie's pub and how he's going to offer Phyllis, you know, the manager. And Carly was like, you know, we've never had a reason to be at Charlie's, but this is a good one. And I'm like, Christina worked there for years. She was managing it until you pushed her out to make Phyllis manager. You had no reason to be there. Shame on you. Shame on y'all. Everybody forgets about Christina, I swear. Okay, so anyway, Phyllis accepts, and Nina happened to be at Charlie's when Sunny offered Phyllis the position. And Sunny and Nina talk about it, and you can just tell that Sunny still has love for Nina, and it's gonna backfire in his face when Carly notices that. You can really see that Sunny is really protective of her, and he tries to reassure her that the situation in the court thing with Michael might not work in Michael's favor. So Nina's like, you think so? Like, you're reassuring me? And Sunny's just like, yeah. So those were all the major plot points this week. The only other thing really worth noting is that Maxie found out that Dante and Sam were a thing and wished them the best, but you know, back in her mind, she's like, well, Lulu might not be in this coma forever, and what happens then? Also, Ned walked in on another close moment between Robert and Olivia. Poor Ned, like, if only he would hear the conversations that they were having. Robert is like Team Nedley on this one, you know? He's like trying to tell Olivia to maybe consider that Ned cares about Leo too, and he's also trying to look out for his best interest. He's like trying to give them common ground, and Ned's just like, Robert, he's taking my woman. He's not. Yeah, they're drawn to each other, but like Robert's not gonna act on that, you know what I mean? But alright, I'm gonna end this here. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to. I'd really appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.